Hey, JulesBlessedVegan, and as always, welcome to my channel. And for those of you who are new, I know you can benefit. So happy Friday. My gosh, doesn't a week go quickly? I feel like I just said that one Friday ago. Anyway, technically, this was my first day of summer. First day of summer. I finished teaching summer school yesterday. And of course, like most teachers, I immediately went to the dentist because that's what we do on break. People think, oh, teachers get so much time off. First of all, that's recovery, people. It's called recovery. And we usually spend it making up for all the things we couldn't do while we were teaching. So yes, I went to the dentist right away. Yay God. They were very pleased with my teeth and gums and lack of plaque overall, because plant-based diets do that, and it's fabulous. But anyway, I've been kind of going through the different ailments that have been cured for me. This is my personal story, not a doctor, can't promise anyone anything. I'm simply telling my truth as a result of going plant-based vegan and largely raw. So I wanted to talk about migraines because, oh my gosh, I know the pain and suffering of a migraine so bad. So bad. So I remember, I'm just trying to think, as a child, I didn't really get too many headaches, but I ate largely simple and non-processed foods, really, pretty much as a child. And it wasn't until I definitely got to high school. I mean, I remember I never even had a soda. I think we called them soda pops back then, until I was 12 years old. I'd never had soda. So it just wasn't part of my thing. My mom made her own granola. She used honey in our birthday cakes. I mean, I was exposed to things, but mostly it was a very simple food, simple upbringing. Well, my world certainly opened up when I got to high school, and that's kind of when I started to put on weight and was eating things that were really foreign to my body, not good for my body. And so I did okay. And I had severe periods from the time they started, from when I was 12 years old. I just had really heavy, long-lasting periods with bad cramps, like from their inception, from honestly 12 years old on. So that was kind of tricky. When I was about 17, I met this person who was really my nemesis, but it was kind of like a wolves in sheep clothing, right? So they seemed like a friend, but they were a compulsive overeater and a binger, and they had a car and they had the means, and they would just show up wherever I was with like my favorite trigger foods, And so that's when I started putting on weight. And unfortunately, that insanity and being so out of control and everything else continued, at least until I was 21 and gave up on this person. But the momentum was already in play, and so I just continued to put on weight and everything else after them. That's a story for another day. But regarding the migraines, so around 18 or 19, I started having severe migraines, and mine is not the migraine with aura. So for some people, everything kind of has like a light or a halo around it, and it often happens about a half hour before a migraine is about to hit. And that wasn't my case. For me, my migraine was like the feeling of having like a ram's horn running down along one side of my head. And I would have trouble with light, not seeing a light, but couldn't stand the light. So I had a hypersensitivity to light, a severe ram's horn, usually down one side or the other of my head, feeling sick to my stomach, like, oh my gosh, so bad, so bad. I just wanted to get into darkness as quickly as I could, and it was just really, really bad. And so they started getting so bad around 19 and 20, and they didn't have shots that I could self-administer yet. Those were coming. But 18, 19, 20, I often needed to go to the emergency room, and they would give me a shot of Demerol, which is like a really serious painkiller. And that was the only way. I mean, I was vomiting. I was in so much pain, it was crazy. Finally, around that time, Imitrex came on the market, and I was able to take an Imitrex. It would still make me nauseous, but it would stop the pain, so it was always a trade-off. And again, mine were so bad that they gave me Imitrex shots, and I would self-administer these subcutaneous shots, which is like in the skin rather than in the muscle. And again, they stung really bad. It was super painful. I'd have to be so brave to do it, but I knew the trade-off. Even though it would make me totally sick to my stomach in a very short period of time, it would also ease my pain. And the pain was unreal, just unreal. And then I would have like a cycle of migraines where it would last, They were curable, I could definitely help them with my Imitrex and with my shot, much like the Demerol had helped. But they would come, like 3 or 4 at a time and 4 or 5 days at a time. I would just be in a cycle of migraine. Now, the thing is, because at the time I was young and just having fun and didn't think of migraines until they hit, I didn't really have any way of recording per se what was causing them, like what was it exactly that was causing them. So I was certainly aware that when people want to deal with migraine, they're supposed to, for one, keep a food journal and hopefully see whether they're affected by alcohol or affected by chocolate or, what it is that's provoking them. And certainly cyclically, meaning with their menstrual cycle, how are the hormones of that affecting them, right? And all of that is so reasonable. But I was already putting on a truckload of weight in a very brief period of time and eating a bunch of food-like products and eating meat, eating dairy, like all the time. So there was really no way for me to separate what was causing those per se. So anyway, I had migraines so bad, okay, so that was like in my early, just coming on 20. Well, by the time I was 30, I had to keep throw-up bags in my car. Often when I would be coming home from school on the freeway and I was commuting for like hours each way, I would dump out my lunch really quick to make sure I had my lunch bucket ready because I would throw up. It's like, it was just such a regular thing for me. It was ridiculous. I know for me, part of it was that I've always been super hypersensitive, and I won't say always, but 24 plus, moving on, plus 24 years old. I was very hypersensitive to smells. And so if there was cleaners or, heaven forbid, what do those hippies use? Incense. Oh my gosh. Cleaners, incense, perfumes, including cologne, which is all the same. Some more than others. Baby powder was a huge problem for me. I know. And when you're changing babies and diapers and everything, and that's the main thing people use. Even now, from a mile away, if somebody has a baby powder scented perfume, I am in trouble. I mean, seriously. So anyway, where I was vomiting, literally throwing up in the car, I would know that the pain was coming on, and it would literally go down my face and into my shoulder, and usually, again, down one side of my body. And I would just literally become numb and in so much pain, just physically inside my body. And kind of in line with my asthma, because I was just so affected. In the classroom, if a child has on perfume and then 25 children have on perfume, it was very, very difficult for me. And in a restaurant setting, in church, most certainly, in any special events, and even now I forget, because I've improved so much on the plant-based diet that I will forget that there's a chance that I'm going to be affected still, nowhere near what I was. But I was giving an example just 2 weeks ago where I was going to an amusement park with my partner teacher, and she had had one of those little air fresheners in her car, and she'd removed it, but the fabric of the car, of course, still contained that air freshener. And the minute I got in there, my breath was stolen from me, and I thought, oh my gosh, I'm going to be in big trouble right now. And even though we were only in there 5 minutes, later when I was vomiting at the amusement park, I had no doubt that part of that was triggered by that. So I will say that I still get occasional migraines. Certain things will absolutely affect me. I will try and ignore them as best I can, but occasionally when they hit, I will get them. The key word there is occasional. Like ever since I got off processed food, and if I'm being honest, because if anybody's followed me, they know that I'm pretty consistent. Not completely consistent, not totally consistent, not consistent. I'm pretty consistent, which is more than fairly consistent, okay? So the thing is, I do slip and I will have processed food. And again, if I was keeping a record, I'm sure I would realize that it was a day or 2 or 3 after that processed food that I got hit with the migraine. So I went from having migraines, and I think of those Botox commercials where they'll say, you know, if you have 15 or more migraines a month lasting 4 or more hours, that was so me. That was so me. Yeah, minus the Botox. But yeah, I had them just all the time, and they would just come on fast and hit me several times in a very brief period for, you know, a few days at a time. And so when I hear those commercials, I think, thank you, God, thank you, God, thank you, God, to no end that is not my truth anymore. Now I probably have a migraine twice a month, maybe once, maybe twice a month. And even when I have that migraine, it lasts for maybe an hour or 2, and then it's just gone. Like there's a difference in migraine if you know the feeling of them. They're quite different than a stress headache. They're different than a sinus headache. Like right now, yesterday I had a kind of a sinus attack, right? Yeah, because I'm still so sensitive to things, and luckily my eye is nearly clear. But my face hurts, and I can feel the sinus pressure in my head. I will take this all day long and twice on Sunday over any migraine that ever comes my way. Is this uncomfortable? Yes, it is. Do I know that I'm going to be fine and that it's not going to lead to vomiting? Yes, I do. And I am so grateful for that. And I just know that is a plant-based diet. I mean, allergies will happen. I have horses, I have dogs, I have a pig, I have a bird. A bunch of dust was being stirred up, as is true in the desert anyway, but we had a project going on. And I'm affected by that. But I can breathe. My chest is not inflamed like it always was with my asthma. And I am not physically hurting through my body. I just have the pain in the place that is expected for what I was subjected to. Excuse me. So those migraines, man, they were so hard on me. I missed days of school. I tried not to. I usually would push the whole way through the day and then throw up on the way home, like I just said. I mean, it's really weird. Looking back, I may have tried to respect myself a little more than that, but I was just taught to push through, always to push through, you know? So again, basically there's 2 types of migraines, and one is without aura, this is the most common, and one is with aura. And it says, hold on one second, infractable migraine status, migrainosis is very serious. No, never mind. Anyway, that's all. I just wanted to tell you guys. And I certainly am not proclaiming that I'm never going to have a migraine again and that all my migraines are gone. But I will tell you, I went from 15 a month and having to make sure that I always had a vomit bag and could not participate in a ton of things to maybe one a month. Some months, no, none at all. Never throwing up, never sick to my stomach, just sensing that same pain through my head, through my arm, and usually gone, within an hour and a half or so. I don't take medication anymore. I think some of those migraines could have been a result. That's the problem. I will never know anymore. I will not know how much my migraines were triggered by the medications that I was taking. I will not know how much the migraines were triggered by my menstrual cycle. So it's a little tricky that way. That's why you don't have to accept the whole story. What I do know is that in being off all medication, in refraining from processed foods, I have had my greatest success of not participating in migraines anymore. And how much of that is coincidence, I don't know, except for when I challenge it by eating processed foods out of nowhere, I end up with a migraine. Like, it's kind of a guarantee. So that's why I'm confident that plant-based has allowed me to be pain-free. And that's just true anyway. I have a video if you go into search on alkaline foods. And because plant-based is basically alkaline, largely alkaline in nature, I have very little inflammation in my body. So even though I'm still heavy, even though I'm technically getting older, I can run circles around so many people in my life. I am not aching or taking a couple minutes to get up off the couch. I am jumping up in a second. I am running around all over. I am lifting things and not having sore muscles the next day. I am out in the sun and not sunburning, So there's a lot of truths that I know. And I honestly believe that being spared migraines, and I thank God to no end, was largely for being plant-based. Now, I know that's not true. There's some people I know who are completely wrong, far more disciplined than I am, and they still get migraines. And I know their migraines are less than they were. They're definitely still in that age of hormones, right? So it could be part of that. But right now, I'm just going to thank God to no end and just know that plant-based vegan is the better way and that it largely keeps me pain-free. And I'm off all medications. And if I need anything at all, it's a heating pad, which was true anyway. From 12 years old on, I used a heating pad if I needed one for cramps. So a heating pad and an ice pack. Those are my go-to, honestly. But mostly, I just don't need anything at all. What do you think, you guys? Challenge me if you want. Let me know your story with migraines. I'd love to know and support you in any way I can. Again, I'm still kind of struggling today because I'm still having this sinus situation, but it's something I can function through. I'm, slightly aware of it, but not panicking in any way. When I knew migraines were coming on and I started getting blind in one eye, when I had to literally say, don't make any noise and just leave me in the bedroom, please don't turn on the light, don't turn on the light, like all of that. When I knew that I could barely grab that bucket fast enough to be vomiting while driving on the freeway, I mean, come on. None of that's my truth today. I'll take plant-based vegan all day long, and I will credit it for all that is right in my world. Okay, like if you like, join us if you haven't, subscribe. Let me know in the comments below how I may support you, and until we talk again, best of all, know that you too can be blessed if you eat plant-based vegan. And then I got my teeth cleaned. What? Cheers to you. Know that you're blessed.